You wake before sunrise. The room is still dark. Only a small oil lamp flickers softly beside the wall, casting weak orange light across the stone floor of your house. The air feels strangely warm tonight. Not the heavy warmth of summer. Something different. Something unnatural. Outside, somewhere beyond your wooden shutters, a dog is barking. Not the normal bark of hunger or strangers. This sound is sharper. Panicked. You sit up slowly beneath your rough wool blanket as tiny grains of dust drift from the ceiling onto your chest. The room smells faintly of smoke, oil, and damp stone. Another tremor rolls beneath the floor. Small, brief, but enough to make the lamp flame tremble. Then silence returns. You hear footsteps outside. A cart somewhere far away. A horse snorting nervously in the darkness. For a moment, the entire city feels as though it is holding its breath. Beyond the rooftops of Pompeii, a mountain waits in darkness. Silent, massive, watching. And by tomorrow morning, this city will no longer exist. The city wakes slowly after sunrise. At first, only a few windows open above the narrow streets of Pompeii. Then another. Then another. Within minutes, the entire city begins filling with movement, voices, smoke, and footsteps echoing softly across the stone roads below. Warm morning light spills between the buildings, turning the dusty streets golden. The air already feels warm for this early in the day. Bakers have been awake for hours. Inside dark stone bakeries, workers pull steaming loaves from giant ovens glowing orange with firelight. Flour dust floats through the air like pale smoke. The smell spreads everywhere. Fresh bread, olive oil warming in clay jars, smoke drifting from nearby cooking fires, salt and fish sauce carried inland from the harbor. Even before the sun fully rises above the rooftops, Pompeii already smells alive. A wooden cart rattles loudly across uneven stones nearby, pulled slowly by a nervous donkey whose cries echo through the street. Somewhere above you, a woman leans from a balcony shaking dust from a linen cloth into the morning air. A child runs barefoot past your shoulder chasing a barking dog through the alleyways ahead. Merchants are already arranging fruit, wine jars, cloth, and baskets outside crowded market stalls near the forum. Arguments begin early here. One vendor accuses another of watering down his wine. A fisherman shouts prices loudly enough for half the street to hear him. Someone nearby drops a clay bowl onto the road. It shatters instantly. Nobody stops walking. The city feels busy in the way large cities always do. Loud, crowded, alive. People brush past one another carrying bread, water, fish, baskets, tools. Slaves move carefully through the crowds balancing heavy jars across their shoulders. Travelers arriving from nearby towns wipe dust from their sandals after long walks beneath the rising heat. And above everything, towering silently over the rooftops, Mount Vesuvius watches the city from the distance. Dark against the pale blue sky. Quiet. Motionless. No smoke rises from the mountain. No fire. Nothing that suggests danger. Most people barely notice it anymore. The mountain has always been there. Watching above the city. Sleeping. At least. That is what everyone believes. But today, something feels different. Not obvious at first. Just small things. Easy things to ignore. The birds notice it before the people do. A sudden wave of black birds erupts violently from the rooftops ahead, filling the sky with frantic wings before disappearing toward the distant coastline. Several people pause to watch them, then continue walking. A woman standing beside a public fountain slowly pulls her hand from the water as tiny ripples begin trembling across the surface. The movement is subtle, but unnatural. Another tremor rolls beneath your feet. Small enough that some people barely react. large enough that pottery rattles loudly inside nearby shops. A merchant curses under his breath while steadying clay jars on wooden shelves behind him. A horse tied beside the street suddenly jerks backward against its reins, breathing nervously through its nose. Children stop laughing for a moment, then start again. Life continues. It always does. Earthquakes are common here. Small tremors pass beneath Pompeii every few weeks. People have lived beside the mountain for generations. Most believe the shaking is simply part of life near the volcano. An old man sitting outside a wine shop quietly mutters a prayer to the gods before taking another drink. Nearby, two merchants continue arguing over bread prices as though nothing unusual is happening at all. But now and then, someone glances toward Mount Vesuvius and quickly looks away again, as though staring too long at the mountain might somehow wake it. The air feels strangely heavy now, warmer than before, harder to breathe, and somewhere deep beneath the city, something ancient is beginning to move. By midday, the heat across the city becomes difficult to ignore. The stone streets of Pompeii trap the warmth beneath the afternoon sun, and the air feels heavier now than it did that morning. Thicker. Still. Inside the public bathhouses, steam curls upward through warm chambers lined with painted walls and marble statues blackened slightly by years of smoke and oil lamps. Wealthy Romans sit half-submerged in heated pools discussing politics, business, and gladiator games while slaves move quietly between them carrying towels, wine, and bowls of scented oil. Some mention the tremors from earlier. Most laugh them away. Earthquakes are part of life here. They always have been. Outside, the city grows louder as travelers continue arriving from nearby towns and villages. The streets near the Forum become crowded with performers, merchants, priests, laborers, tourists, beggars, slaves, and wandering children weaving through the crowds. A musician beats rhythmically on a small hand drum beneath the shade of a stone archway. Nearby, several children dance barefoot in the dust while their exhausted mother watches from the side of the road. The smell of grilled meat drifts slowly from roadside food stalls where cooks wipe sweat from their foreheads while turning skewers above open flames. Wine spills across stone counters. Someone begins arguing loudly over gambling debts. A group of laborers laugh beside a fountain while washing dirt from their arms. Everywhere around you, Pompeii feels alive. Busy in the careless way living cities always are. The kind of place people assume will still exist tomorrow. And the day after that. And hundreds of years after that. But the heat continues building. The air no longer moves through the streets. Dogs bark constantly now. Not playfully. Nervously. Several horses tied beside a nearby building suddenly pull hard against their reins, their eyes wide with panic. A flock of pigeons bursts upward from a rooftop all at once. And then, the mountain growls. Low. Deep. Not loud enough to understand, but powerful enough that the sound seems to rise from beneath the entire earth itself. The ground vibrates softly beneath your sandals. Conversations stop. The musician lowers his drum. Somewhere nearby, glass shatters. And for one long moment, the entire city falls silent. The explosion arrives without warning. 1 second the mountain is silent. The next, the sky tears open above Pompeii. A massive black cloud erupts violently from Mount Vesuvius, climbing higher and higher into the air with terrifying speed like an enormous tree made of smoke, ash, and fire. People freeze in the streets. Others begin screaming immediately. The ground shakes violently beneath your feet hard enough to throw people sideways against walls and market stalls. Roof tiles crash from buildings all around you. A woman nearby falls to her knees praying desperately to the gods while clutching a child against her chest. The sound is unbearable now. A deep roaring thunder that seems to swallow the entire city. Ash begins falling almost immediately. Soft at first. Fine gray flakes drifting gently through the sunlight like strange winter snow. Some children reach upward trying to catch it in their hands. They do not understand what is happening yet. Then the ash begins falling faster. Hotter. Thicker. The sunlight fades rapidly behind the growing cloud overhead. Bright morning becomes orange. Orange becomes dark gray. Lightning flashes violently inside the volcanic smoke above the mountain. The air tastes bitter now. Like metal. Like sulfur. Like fire. People push violently through the streets toward the city gates carrying anything they can grab within seconds. Jewelry. Money. Blankets. Food. Children. Some people scream the names of missing family members while running against the crowds. Others rush back inside collapsing homes searching desperately for loved ones who never return. A horse crashes sideways into a fruit stall nearby, sending baskets rolling across the street beneath falling ash. Someone nearby is crying uncontrollably. Someone else is praying. A man pushes past you carrying an elderly woman in his arms while volcanic dust covers both their faces. The entire city is moving now. Running. Screaming. Panicking. And above everything, Mount Vesuvius continues erupting endlessly into the darkening sky. By evening, the streets of Pompeii become almost impossible to cross. Ash piles against doors, rooftops, windows, statues. Every surface begins disappearing beneath layers of gray volcanic dust. People wrap cloth around their mouths trying desperately not to choke. Every breath burns your throat now. The sky disappears completely behind thick volcanic smoke. Only brief flashes of lightning illuminate the darkness above the city. You stumble through crowds, barely able to see more than a few feet ahead. Some people collapse from exhaustion beside the roads. Others vanish beneath falling debris as buildings begin collapsing one after another beneath the growing weight of ash. Stone cracks loudly somewhere nearby. A roof suddenly caves inward. Screaming echoes through the darkness. The harbor is overflowing with terrified families trying to escape by sea. Boats slam violently against one another while waves crash beneath falling ash and burning debris. Some people fight desperately for space aboard overcrowded ships. Others kneel along the shoreline praying while black smoke rolls across the water. A child somewhere behind you screams for his mother. You turn instinctively toward the sound. But visibility is almost gone now. Only shadows move through the ash storm. The heat becomes unbearable. Hot wind moves through the streets carrying smoke, ash, and the smell of burning wood across the city. Everywhere around you, Pompeii is disappearing. The temples, the bathhouses, the markets, the homes, the painted walls, the fountains. Everything slowly vanishes beneath darkness and falling ash. Some people continue running no matter how exhausted they become. Others simply stop moving entirely. Too frightened. Too tired. Too hopeless. And above them all, hidden somewhere inside the black volcanic sky, Mount Vesuvius roars like the end of the world itself. By morning, Pompeii is gone. The streets that once echoed with merchants, animals, music, and conversation now lie buried beneath enormous layers of ash and volcanic stone. Entire buildings disappear completely beneath the gray landscape. Thousands of people remain trapped where they spent their final moments. Inside homes. Inside temples. Inside crowded streets filled with darkness and ash. Entire families vanish together beneath the city. The silence afterward feels impossible. No more carts rattling across stone roads. No more bakers shouting before sunrise. No more laughter drifting from bathhouses filled with steam and candlelight. Only ash. Only wind. Only the distant shape of the mountain above the ruins. For nearly 2,000 years, Pompeii sleeps beneath the earth, frozen exactly as it was during its final hours, waiting silently beneath layers of hardened ash until archaeologists uncover the city centuries later. Even now, when modern visitors walk through the ruins of Pompeii today, they are walking through the final moments of an ancient world. Past abandoned streets where people once bought bread and wine. Past homes where families believed tomorrow would arrive like any other day. Past bodies preserved forever beneath volcanic stone. A city filled with ordinary people who woke one morning believing they still had time, not knowing the mountain above them had already decided otherwise.